So, I've tried recording this a couple times. It hasn't really gone so well. So I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible. No notes, no stops, no multiple takes. We're going to try and go through this. So let's start off by what I did today. I took my Fender logos off my Fender amps. So this is from my Princeton reverb. I also took one off my twin reverb. Those are like two of my favorite amps that I own. They're kind of to me, they were sort of my entry point for what a clean amp should sound like. But I took them off. I also purchased some black masking tape. I'm going to be covering up all the logos on the amp, and I'm going to try and think of some fun names to draw on instead for the time being. That's just how frustrated I am with today's news. So if you haven't already heard, Fender has decided to basically litigate the entire guitar community, the guitar manufacturing industry, over the Stratocaster shape. So really quickly, this video is not going to be a real overview of the news. Go watch Phil McKnights' video on it. It's way better than anything I could sort of say. I have no legal background, so I can't really speak on the legality of this or make any predictions and stuff like that. That's not the goal of today's video. The goal of today's video is just sort of to give the perspective as someone who is not a huge fan of Fender guitars, why I think this is really bad for the community, and hopefully might clear some things up. Irregardless, if you love Fender guitars or you hate them, maybe we can sort of understand that as guitarists and as consumers, this has a real negative effect on all of us. So first off, I think one of the real ironies about this is that when you think about Fender litigating, it really is kind of an admission, despite the fact that they have a huge market share, despite the fact that they have huge name brand recognizability, despite the fact they have huge history and all the marketing advantages, they have a huge marketing environment, they can build more guitars, they can do scale that most companies can't. That they are still engaging in litigation rather than just being a guitar company. And that's really frustrating. As a consumer, it's not really what you want. Threatening companies that you may really love, like me with my PRSs, it's not really fun to hear. And I think it's really negative, not just for folks that love other brands, but for the guitar community as a whole. I think one of the things that really kind of ticked me off is that when I think about my PRS Fiore or any of my PRSs, I really get annoyed when people say they're just clones, because they really aren't. Yes, it's going to be a Strat style guitar, but there's little details that make this guitar unique compared to other Strats. I think if you're someone that's maybe skeptical of that, maybe consider the differences between a 50 Strat, a 60 Strat, a 70 Strat, and the modern reissues and stuff like that. There's all these little intricacies, all these nuances that can all be something that we attach to and really gravitate towards. But they aren't necessarily universally held. Some guys really love vintage Strats, some guys love modern Strats, some guys could care less. For me, I really never bonded with Fender guitars all that much. They always didn't really sound the way I wanted them to. They always felt kind of awkward. I don't really like the neck carves. I don't like the way they feel finished. Like, I remember trying a Sur Jazzmaster. I picked it up and I put it back immediately just because the neck felt just like an American Jazzmaster neck. I'm just not a fan of that. That's really hard to sort of say why. If it's the carb, if it's the finish, the fret wire, I can't really say why. Guitars are more than just specs on a sheet of paper. They are a composite object with all the unique things that come with that. Because of that, I've kind of always been drawn to my Paul Reed Smiths because of all the little nuances and intricacies. That goes back to my first PRS, which was this black PRS Tremonti. It's one of the pre-lawsuit ones with the logo on the 12th fret. So at first glance, this seems like a pretty standard single cut. But the thing that I really love about it, the first time I picked it up, it felt incredible. And really, when I was first getting this guitar, I got it because I'm a huge Mark Tremonti fan. He's the reason I picked up this instrument to begin with. Not this instrument, but guitar in general. And for me, it was a bit of hero worship. But the reason I stayed with PRS so much is because and I purchased most of these instruments. This one was a gift from my parents. The reason they stuck with me was because I felt like they had just a unique playability that other guitars I just couldn't bond with as much. I feel more free when I play on these instruments than I do others. And then it has huge sonic versatility. I've used this guitar in all sorts of different rock ensembles, cover bands, thrash metal, gent, all these different sort of contemporary hard rock stuff. But I've also used this in swing bands, in big bands, in jazz combos, fusion ensembles. I've recorded film scores with this. I've recorded video game scores with this. And I've also played this in church pretty regularly. Amazing guitars all around. It's only really beaten by this PRS. This is my 2007 Tremonti. It has pretty much the same features, except the neck is a little bit thinner. Still really well rounded and curved, so it's not a really flat neck. I really like that. It really feels free when I play this instrument. And then it's got the PRS style tremolo. I really love it because there's no sharp edges. It's like the perfect size, so there's no pressure points. It's really comfortable and really rock solid. You can bend up, you can bend down with it. Stays in tune, really rock solid, really incredible. But there's some other features that are on both, like this neck heel that I really enjoy. It's curved a little bit, so it gives me a stopping point like a traditional Les Paul. But this curved heel combined with this half moon style cutaway really enables really great upper fret access. It's got a tummy cut, a really deep carve on the top as well. All these little things, 10-inch radius, the locking tuners, all these little things make this guitar really unique. Pickups sound great too. Can really do the traditional sort of rock, sort of pushing an amp really well. Could do, but it sounds right at home in like contemporary hard rock and metal and gent production as well, without sounding too thin in other contexts. And then the neck pickup is great for jazz. It's great for classic rock. It can do basically everything except position 4 and 5 on a Strat. And that's ultimately the reason why I got this guitar. I really wanted a guitar that had sort of Strat style layout, at least as far as pickups. But had a little bit more of the PRS DNA. And this is what the Fiore does exceptionally well. And that was something that took a while to sort of figure out. The reason I kind of figured it out, I kind of wanted to do a parts caster for a while. But then I tried a Silver Sky for the first time in 2018, and that kind of ticked something in my brain and went, oh my goodness, I might have actually drank too much of the PRS Kool-Aid, because all these specs that didn't make sense to me, the huge neck on it, really small fret wire, huge radius, really curved radius, and then single coil pickups, not my thing, especially then. But as soon as I plugged it in, it was just perfect again. It was like the first time I picked up my PRS Tremonti and strummed it. It just sounded perfect. So that kind of tipped me off that there's something more going on when we purchase guitars from particular builders and companies than just what we see on the spec sheet. Each builder is bringing their own perspective on it, and that's what makes these guitars so special to me, is that there's all these little features. On this guitar particularly, I think the body is slightly smaller, so I don't think it's quite as thick, and I don't think it's quite as wide as the traditional Strat. Because of that, it's a little bit lighter, and for me, I've always felt really uncomfortable. Like, for whatever reason, Strats and Fenders in general just always felt kind of boxy to me. But as soon as I put my arm here, it just sort of disappears. Similarly, the neck carve, it's really round, it's thick, which I've kind of grown to love. And the 10-inch radius really does make a big difference for me. And then I really love these top-loading tuners. The locking mechanism on top, to me, is so much easier to use than a rear locking tuner. Makes tuning, restrings a breeze. Really love that the neck doesn't flatten out quite as much as like a Fender. That always was really awkward to me. Always felt like I lost like an inch of distance because of that, just because it became too awkward to play. So these are kind of some of the reasons I really love my Fiore and why I don't think I'm ever going to be a Fender customer. So it's really odd to me that litigation is seen as like an avenue to fix these things. Because I really don't see a path forward for a lot of people. One of the companies that are suing is LSL Guitars. They're a guitar company with a smaller footprint. Even here in Los Angeles, where they're based, you really can't find one in a shop. Whereas Fender, even if they're not a Fender dealer, you're going to find a Fender or a Squier somewhere in most shops out here. So, like, the idea that they're losing business to companies like that, to me, is kind of silly. Either, I think the people that are purchasing LSLs are people like me who purchased a PRS instead of a Strat. The reason why is that they don't want a Fender. They're looking for something a little bit different. They're looking for whatever it is about that guitar that makes it special to them. That's what they're really looking to buy. Similarly, I think you could add this for Schecter, for Novo guitars. You can add this for Sirs, basically any of their competitors at any price point, because they have competitors at every price point. And I think each of the price point, there's a credible competitor that makes really quality instruments for you. And I think that's really the shame of this, is that if Fender's successful in sort of kicking them out their competition this way, is that there's going to be a lot less options for that. And we're going to be sort of restricted on what we can purchase. So this guitar would not exist if Fender had their way, basically. And that would be a tragedy for me. So I hope that this is something just to sort of recognize that these guitars, even though they might be called S-style or Strat shaped, they're more than just a Strat, really, when it comes to the finer details to it. Now, for some people, it might not matter at all. They might all feel the same to them. For others, it's going to matter a whole lot. And what I hope is, like, not to say that you should go out and buy this guitar over a Fender or something like that, or come off sounding like I'm saying that Fenders are inferior products or anything like that. The point is that if you really love your Fenders, there's probably all these little things that they do really well that you can't bond with maybe on this instrument, and you would never be a customer for this instrument. And that's okay. But I think what's really frustrating is that a company is kind of trying to use litigation to sort of intimidate and sort of end competition that really solves problems for individuals when it comes to these guitars. Really what we're doing when I'm trying a Strat or a Tele style instrument, I'm really looking for something different than a Fender. I want some of the sound and some of the aesthetics maybe, but I don't want the feel and playability of a Fender. It just doesn't work for me. I think it's really a shame, the idea that certain companies might struggle because of this, and people might not be able to have access to instruments that are really inspiring for them and really miss out on a lot of that. So I hope that's something, like, even if you're a Fender guy or if you're not, there might be some sort of common mutual ground on, is that the more options we have, the better, because everyone's a different individual. Everyone has different aesthetic choices. Everyone has different ergonomic needs. Everyone's bodies are different. Guitars are going to sit different on them. They're going to feel different to them. And then everyone has different sounds in their head that they're trying to capture. So all these different features that you might have on an instrument like this really do matter to individuals. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I'm not going to be buying anything by Fender. I'm going to be covering up their logos and ripping them off. I'm not saying to do that. People can spend their money the way they want them to. I would say, though, if you are looking for like a Fender style guitar and you aren't decided yet, maybe consider looking into the competition a little bit. At least give them a chance and see if you connect with them more than the Fender. Also, another great option, look at your local builders. If there's any local builders that are making quality instruments, maybe give them a call and see what they might be able to do with that. I think supporting smaller businesses is really always a great thing if you can. But again, PRS aren't really that small, and I'm really bound with them. So play what you love, but maybe consider putting your money where your heart is too, and your values are. Alrighty, as always, take care.